some of the other gains in financial and cybersecurity could be hacktivists, different types of criminals that are intended to come to our infrastructure. Example like our police force or our military. You can see different kinds of war going on in the other side of the world between the U.S., Iran, and China. It's not guns and weapons. It's all cyber based on cyberspace. So you imagine losing power, losing water, losing all of these things because we could not have access to our infrastructure. This is one thing that when we say cybersecurity and cyberspace. Another thing is cybersecurity is not being a hacker. That's not cybersecurity. It's part of the cyber space in terms of how do you protect data, and then how do you make sure that data move and get to the right people, the right time, people that and with the right access. These are the things that cybersecurity stand for, not just breaking things. And then part of that is what we do from a nation cyber perspective. By the way, my name is Mustafa Kebe, and I am with Nation Cybersecurity. We established in the Gambia. I am a CISO, which means the Chief Information Security Officer of the company. And I have been working outside of the Gambia for a while in multiple organizations, especially in the cyberspace. So I wanted to give that before I do the introduction in terms of that space. So today, just quickly in terms of my presentations, and I have some slides. I know we can't talk about those slides, but one of my slides talk about regulations and policies in the Gambia. So one of the things that I've started looking at when I come in is what do we really have in place, right? Before I talk about the protection, the CSAT, Mr. Was it Mr. Jallo talked about CISA. It's very critical. Every organization, not only a government, but every organization needs to have a cyber program. They need to have an incident response program, which means something goes wrong, you call IT. IT have one person or two person that's responsible for a cyber program. Today, if we don't have that in the Gambia, and I see Mr. Mbo laughing, it's a critical thing. It's one of those things that is fundamental for every organization. We have no idea what that is. The CERT team is more of going back from a government level, try to look at everything that's coming in and out of the nation from a nation state type of attack, right? And then you can form different types of government institutions or different types of agencies that handles internal cyber crime, regardless of people trying to break into a mom and pop shop or I want to log into this network or that network. That should be handled in different areas. But my policy looks, a couple of things we looked at is we don't have visibility. We have no idea what we're doing or what we're looking at. If we talk about data or privacy, we have zero idea. That's one of the things that I start looking at. The second thing is we have disjoint strategy. Nobody knows where and how to do it. It's, well, we're doing it this way. In 2018, we did it that way. We have the government of China told us to do it this way. We have the government of the U.S. or UN. So we don't know. We have to come as Gambians and also as expertise to actually come up with the best strategy for our nation. Because culture matters. Culture matters. Policy, you can enforce all policy, but culture matters. A couple other things. Poor innovation, right? So we talk about all this, but all the governments, all the agencies are not integrated. We should have a ICT team that sees all data that every government agencies and then be able to see, hey, what are you seeing? We're seeing this. You talk about malware and all kinds of things. So in that regards, I'm just going to go quick here. We want to talk about what are the few states of Gambia. So I think that's one of the things. Data protection is one of them. Cloud is a critical thing, and everybody's talking about what are we doing in the cloud? Do we understand the data we're putting in the cloud? Do we know what kind of encryptions that we can use? You can put data in the cloud, doesn't mean your data is going away. There are ways to protect your data, even if the data is not the Gambia or somewhere else. It's called data encryption. Things that you could do, it's called data encryption using key management. All right. Key management. So data encryption and key management is what we're going to use. It's gone here. So, and another thing reduce operational impact, right? So what can we do from a reduced operation? It's working? Oh, that's good. So reducing operational impact in terms of the cost to do this type of security capabilities, it's very expensive, it's true, but there are ways to actually collaborate with different institutions. My team and I are working with different organizations to create what we call a security operations center. This operation center was not geared just for the Gambia, but we wanted to bring it here to actually get used into cybersecurity, but bring operational efficiencies for things like IBM that is taking their SOC into like India or other countries. Why can't we have that in our nation? We talk about cybersecurity. The university is not doing anything about cybersecurity today. Cyber program that actually look at the actual programs that could help our individuals and youths. These things. Another thing is just quality of data. Right, we need to know what quality of data is. You talk about personal information, things like PII, personal information identifier. You need to know who you are, your telephone number, your name, your social or your TIN number, your ID card number. Those are critical. Today we don't value those data, or we don't even know how to collaborate those things. And these are the kind of things that I think that we should look at. And then we have things that we're working with the government and some other institutions to put this in place. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kebe, for that wonderful rundown. I know we're pressed for time, and this would have been a pretty good presentation for us, which we would have benefited from a lot more. But again, this is not the only forum that all of us are available at. Outside of here, you can feel free to approach any of us, and we'll be glad to assist. That's what we're here for. Um, he spoke about the main, for example, definition of cybersecurity, its difference with cybercrime, information security, data protection, and all other areas. Think about this. If somebody decides to hack one of our key telephone network systems, for example, a GSM network, and brings that system down, think about the havoc that could happen in Gambia. I don't want to use an example for, I don't want to use any particular network, but we know which network is the biggest here. Should something happen to that network where nobody can make any calls, that could create some serious issues. And that could be a result of cybercrime. Okay. Also, he mentioned about a CERT, this computer and computer emergency response team. And Modu Ali already mentioned that there is one that is in the pipeline. We're setting that up, and we're in a very advanced stage of having a computer security and incident response team, which is called GMCSIRT. That's Gambia's CERT. And this, we envisage, will go a long way in protecting especially government infrastructure and providing first response to incidents that happen within the government network or information systems. This will expand later to incorporate other areas in the private sector and the CSOs as well. But it is in the advanced stages, just for your information. We envisage probably by the end of this year, it should be very active. Okay. There's also this advent of IoT as encroaching very fast on us. This is one very, very important area that we need to have dialogue on, because start thinking about devices talking to devices using the internet without your intervention. And as our brother Bakari explained from ISOC, if somebody can hack into your access systems to your house, imagine what they can do. Just using some reprogramming of your IoT device, they can just wreak havoc on your life real quick. These are some of the concerns that we need to have, especially now that we're talking about 5G right around the corner. The ITU is finalizing the definitions and the parameters of 5G. They're being tested. And should that be rolled out, there are so many implications, especially on security and cybersecurity. It's all to do with the internet. You know. So we need to start thinking about all of these. Think ahead. Make sure all of these situations are incorporated in our preparations for combating cybercrime, and especially for our laws that we want to promulgate in the very near future. I'm glad we have Mr. Mbo here, our able MP and representative for in the committee for ICTs. Okay. Next, I want to invite Mr. Samate, who is with the GPF. You know what GPF is, right? They don't like using the word police. The popo. I mean, he's here. He's one of the experts in cybersecurity in the police department. We've had quite a lot of interactions with them to enable and train the unit as far as fighting cybercrime is concerned. So, Mr. Samate, what do you have for us, especially how the law enforcement tackles cybersecurity threats, working with stakeholders in the country?
Hello, good morning. My name is Maurice Samate. I'm representing the Gambia Police Force. I'm here to talk about how the Gambia Police Force, the law enforcement, tackling the cybersecurity threat, working with stakeholders. But first of all, I would like every one of you to know that the Gambia Police Force did not have any cybersecurity unit which is fully, running the cybercrime at the moment. For one, for more, one or three, two or three reasons. One of the reason is we lacked of expertise to be able to run the cybercrime unit, which currently the Gambia Police Force is working at, to train people to become a cyber specialist. And we did not have like materials, where we can be able to execute our investigation in regards to cybersecurity. And the department also did not have any laboratory where we were doing our penetration testing and other means. And during the last 7 months, the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance have been tremendous support in the Gambia Police Force in the area of cybersecurity and cybercrime capacity building training, which 30 personnel were scouted from the Gambia Police Force to be trained on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity. The have, training which we have is participants were training on defense technical, fraud detection, SIM boxing, and data analyze. And the second, that was the first phase, and we are planning to have it was the second phase, which is going to be which is going to cover the server drill and the uh, policy aspect, where the participants will understand both the cyber drill and the policies aspect in ICR. And other efforts also have also made to send our department have sent officers outside of the country, such as China and Qatar and Ghana and other countries, for capacity building training to boost their experience and awareness in cybersecurity against cybercrime. And recently, our higher command have invited one of the cybersecurity president, Mr. Amadouba, to identify some of the cybercrime tools that will be so relevant to our department to be able to investigate cybercrime. Devices such as forensics analysis tools, data recovery tools, and fraud detection tools. So these materials have been, identified by Mr. Ba for our department to purchase so that we can be able to do more on cyber crime investigation. Because currently we are using our own trial softwares or recovery tools that we have in order to do some of the investigations, to let an evidence from the victims. So it's very hard, to work in such situation. So that is why some of the cases, the police cannot prosecute them because like we did not have materials to go ahead with them, such as these in online crimes, internet crimes. Most of the cases, we do even involve Mr. Ba to help us in order to, have something out of it. But at our level, we find it very difficult, in order to find the perpetrators. So on that note, I will thank Mr. Ba for his, help and the entire Gambia Cyber Security Alliance for their guests, wonderful guests. So I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samate. We understand and appreciate the efforts that are being forwarded by the police in fighting crime, both online and offline. And as he said, we have institutions or organizations like the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance that is working hand in hand with the police and other institutions, quite a few other institutions actually that are critical to the regular functioning of our society in awareness issues, in training, with specific tools and whenever they're needed. They also work in conjunction with Skynet. Also, that's the first registered cybersecurity company in the country. They work hand in hand with Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance. And Amadou is here wearing both hats. And can we have Amadou give us a brief outline also on what he's been doing with this couple of institutions out there in the society in terms of cybersecurity?
Thank you very much, Boss Max. Good afternoon. It's a honor being here to talk about cybersecurity and cybercrime and cyber-related issues in the Gambia. As he rightly mentioned, my name is Amadouba. I am the president of the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance. And I also work with Skynet IT and cybersecurity as the director of cybersecurity and business integrity. The Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance is a professional civil society organization that was established way back in 2016 to provide training and awareness and also incident response to the Gambian general public. The initiative came as a result of a cyber security experts conference that was held in Dakar in April 2016, where West Africa was ranked as the most vulnerable, as Maud Ali rightly mentioned, which Gambia is part of. And all this is because of the pirate softwares, and applications and hardwares that we use pretending to defend the core of our network. So it came as a need for West Africa to come up with initiatives where civil society organizations will be constituted in several countries as an alliance to provide, a vigorous cybersecurity awareness to the people, and also provide that technical support to the necessary stakeholders. This also give back to the Africa Cybersecurity Alliance, which is an alliance to the Global Cyber Alliance, which is a global organization that collaboratively work with the Africa Cyber Alliance, and also the Africa chapter works with the national chapters, which include the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance. So since we started, we have in 2016, we recorded 17 cyber crime incidents, 17 in 2017. So we were operating behind the scene, and people were reporting their cyber incidents to us. Most instances, by this time we did not have a collaboration with the Gambia Police Force. So whenever we recommend people to report these issues to the Gambia Police Force for an investigation to be constituted, most people complain that the police force did not have the human resource or the manpower to deliver those services to them. Since then, I would not want to violate the privacy laws of the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance, which has a separate data protection unit that look into the privacy of cyber victims in the Gambia, and also institutions that suffered such cyber attacks, which include bigger institutions. So we will not mention names, basically, to avoid violating our privacy laws. So the trend continued. 2017 came, and the issues, started rising up. Young girls started coming to us to report the issues that they face on social media, cyberbullying, impersonation, and these are some of the things that, triggered the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance to expand its wing in terms of operation across the country, because this is a civil society organization that did not get any subvention from the government. All the activities that we do, we get support from kind-hearted individuals, and also from us, the members. Some of us who are working do contribute from our monthly salaries. I will use this opportunity to thank, Bakari Njai, Max Jonga, and people like Biran Donde, Ponsulet. This has been people who has really been supporting us, encouraging us to keep the momentum. And incidences kept continuing. At the end of 2017 towards 2018, we thought it was important for us to make our presence known to the Gambian people, not by only stopping at our office. People come through our office or to go to the website to report their incidents to us. We send an incident response team to go and rescue them. So we decided to pay a courtesy call to the Gambia Police Force. And we had a tete-a-tete discussion with the Inspector General of Police. And the funny thing is, we wrote to the Gambia Police Force in 2016 for a courtesy call. We could not get approval until 2018. So that shows you, how some leadership don't value the issues of cybercrime in this country. Some people, you talk to them about cybercrime in this country, they tell you it is not happening. These are just things that are happening in the West. So with the coming of the new Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mahmoud Job, who we really thank and honor, he invited us, and we went and have a courtesy call, discuss and identify areas of collaboration with Pura through Max Jonga, and keep things started from that end. First, what we did was to recruit 30, competent police officers in the Gambia Police Force who can serve as a feature cybercrime unit for the Gambia Police Force. And we did this training. It was one of the most successful trainings. During the training, most of the police officers were surprised with some of the things that they saw are happening in this country. Some were thinking these are issues that are just been mentioned on social media and they are really not happening in the Gambia. So since then, we have that closer collaboration with the police force. We have been supporting them both technically, and we were able to also mount them for the first time a very, very high robust firewall system with intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention system, first time on the network of the Gambia Police Force, to filter contents, meaning security begins with them as our core defenders. And since this happens, I was privileged to be invited in series of panels of investigators on cybercrime in the Gambia. And I can vividly report to you that from 2018 to now, if 50 cybercrime incidents are reported to the Gambia Police Force, know that the police force was able to handle at least 30% of these incidences that are reported to them. And most instances, if incidents are reported to the police force, before the police force usually rely on Interpol if it is beyond the boundaries of the Gambia. They rely on Interpol to handle the investigations and do a lot of things for them. So we came with the idea and the initiative since Skynet came into play, which is also a cybersecurity company in the Gambia providing cybersecurity services. So we collaboratively, came up with this idea. Why not we try to link the police force to other SATs that are operating outside the Gambia? With the guidance from Pura, Max Jonga was able to guide us through, and we are able to link the Gambia Police Force to other SAT, Computer Emergency Response Team, in other countries, which Mr. Mudu Samate sitting here is the focal person. Most of the incidents that happens in the Gambia, if it is beyond our boundaries, he write to the specific SAT for assistance. So these are some of the things that the Gambia Cybersecurity has been doing. We did not only work with the police, but we have also provide vulnerability assessment for so many other organizations. We provide awareness trainings in every region. We did one in North Bank, we did one in West Coast, and we are trying to go beyond the country. We are all seeing what some of the things that are happening in the country. Now, narrowing down to the topic, which is cybersecurity and data governance. In the Gambia, for us to effectively govern data, the governments first need to classify data. This is very, very important. Data need to be classified. When I say data need to be classified, he can bear witness with me. There are instances where issues will happen. You want to conduct effective investigation and you are counting on let's say, immigration for the biometric systems to prove certain evidence for you. There are challenges. You want to investigate issues that has to do with probably somebody who is having the old ID card, which is not on the same platform, it is on the Gambia's platform. The data is nowhere to be found. To who did Gambia's hand over this data to becomes a question. So the classification of data is very, very important. If we classify data, government institutions will be in a position to transfer intel, meaning to transfer intelligence from one ministry to the other. And it will make the job of Ministry of Information Communication Infrastructure also very, very easy. But if all the government ministries and agencies hide at their corner, have their own system, and these systems are not linked, they are not integrated, it becomes a bigger challenge. What we foresee is if data is being classified, who should have access to what? At what level should you have access to what data? What are some of the privileges that you have? So basically, these are some of the things that we really need to look into, and time is not on our side. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amadou. We've been quite enlightened by your discussion right now. And without further ado, I don't want to dwell on summarizing. We have our final but most important panelist, if you would accept that, Mr. Jaro from Ministry of Justice. Can you kindly go through what your ministry is doing in interaction with other stakeholders, especially to do with drafting regulations, laws, guidelines, and prosecuting criminal issues to do with cybercrime or cybersecurity and cybercrime? If I remember right, last year there was a country maturity model that was done on the Gambia by some experts from Oxford and ECOWAS, and we had a couple of judges who were sitting in the panel and were actually unaware completely that there were even any cybersecurity laws in the country. I was like really shocked that they were not aware. We had to tell them that yes, there are laws that exist, even though they are not as comprehensive as they should be. Henceforth, we've understood that there have been some trainings, that were done for these judges, and we applaud the Ministry of Justice for that. But can you enlighten us on this and some other issues that your institution has embarked on?
Thank you very much, Max, and good afternoon to all the audience and my co-panelists. Well, when it comes to cybercrime and ITC, it is a global phenomenon. It's not limited or restricted to one country because internet has no boundary, and cyber as well is not defined by boundary. So someone can be even in, let's say, Syria, can attack the Gambia. So you don't need to be in the Gambia to cause a cybercrime. But basically, I will just run down through what we have. Like Honorable said in the previous session, the Gambia has not done well when it comes to cybercrime and data protection. This is not just new to the Gambia, but it's even new globally. If you look at the world at this moment, the only international comprehensive international instrument we have on cybercrime is the Budapest Treaty Convention. That is the convention that regulates cybersecurity and gathering of evidence, electronic evidence for prosecution. Gambia is doing very well, being an observer to some of these provisions under the Budapest Treaty, but we have not drafted in line with that. Apart from that, if you look at the African Union, we have what we call the Malabo Convention. The Malabo Convention went further than the Budapest because it also integrated some issues that affect African countries. Like the other panelists were saying, some of our cultural issues are different from that of the West. Maybe in the West they have better narrow privacy laws, but in Africa people are so interactive that you might even be using one computer in the office. You can sign in your Facebook without signing out. Someone else can come and use the same desktop. So it's different. In that angle, the Malabo Convention was very detailed, and it also provides a lot of good laws that can be used to regulate the data protection and also cybercrime. And I'm happy that some of our committee at the parliament are part of that task force to look what Gambia can import and from that. But I am also happy that Honorable said the Gambia there are efforts for the government to sign the protocol, domesticate and ratify it. That is very important. So apart from that, you have other collaboration with ECOWAS. ECOWAS have supplementary acts. If you look at from 2010, several laws that also dealt with e-commerce and data protection and cybercrime. The Gambia in 2010, our then Vice President, Dr. Isadunjai said, he signed several protocols on those things. And we expecting that through consultations, the government will take those things into board. So at the national level, the only law that we have, let me say, a framework that we have in place right now is the Information and Communication Act. That is under Chapter 3 and Part 13, 12, 2, and others, which provide in detail data protection and cybercrime. Although they did not anticipate about the current strength of cybercrime, but there was at least efforts at the time the law was being made. So currently, like you said, we had last year, not to repeat what Mr. Jallo said, there was a global action on cybercrime activities in Africa, and there was advisory mission on cybercrime legislation that was held in the Gambia in 2018, in collaboration with the Ministry of Information and also the Ministry of Justice and even the Interior. So basically, we have a, when it comes to cybercrime, we have the Ministry of Justice is very interested in advising government agencies, and we have also a drafting unit within the Ministry of Justice. So all government departments that want to come up with a particular law, they send for a legal advice, and they will be advised by the ministry. And when it comes to drafting, they will also assign some people from the drafting unit to be part of the drafting process. And at the end of it, when it goes to cabinet, the Minister of Justice have a very important role to play when it comes to even presenting it before the parliament. So we have a very close collaboration and consultation with the Ministry of Information in that regard. And furthermore also, what I want to say is this, that we must understand that data protection is in two ways. We always must remember that we have right and left. That is the right to freedom of expression versus the right to protective mechanisms. Some of these protective mechanisms may impede our access to, or our freedoms to express ourselves. That does not mean we are denied our right to express ourselves. But again, these are just mechanisms. So at the CSCO's level also, I think it is important that you come with, like he said, some softwares that can counter protect some data, because that is important. I think the most important problem, or the most difficult problem in this whole issue, if we have to be realistic to ourselves, it's not just about the law or the regulation. You can have the best laws in the world, in the Gambia, to regulate data and cybercrime. But believe me, if you don't have the expertise, if you don't have the human resources, if you don't have the capacity to regulate cybercrime, it does not matter how good the law is, it does not matter how beautiful it is drafted, you must have something that can respond to those challenges. And that is the business of everybody. It starts from us individually. When we want to join website, when we want to join social networks, what do we want to do? What information are we giving out? What are the terms and conditions? It is our business. Government will not come and open account for you, Facebook account or Twitter or YouTube. So we need to start from that. But I'm happy that some of the civil organizations are doing a lot of campaign, a lot of sensitization programs to make us aware. And one typical example I will give you is this. Cybercrime is not always very straightforward. It could be sometimes seem to be a normal thing, but if you dip in detail or deep, you will find that there is a cybercrime. Let me give you an example like, okay, we all know LinkedIn is a professional networking system, internet service provider, right? Okay, if I join LinkedIn, I will provide my professional details, educational experience and everything. Recruiters around the globe will have access to me, to my profile. There are some organizations that would also be doing transnational organized crimes who will also have access to your information as well. And they can recruit terrorists. They can do other transactions through your own profile. They will look at you, what type of mindset you have through your profile, what training you have, what expertise you have. They can recruit you as well. So it's not always you are going to end up in the right place. Some of these transnational organized crime institutions can also poach you, and sometimes you will never know how it ends up. So basically, I know today is Friday, we go into prayers, so I want to just say that Without repeating what all my colleagues have said here, that we have a lot of things that we need to do, both at our level, at the level of the private sector, at the level of the government, and we try to see how best we can harness our efforts to ensure that we can minimize cyber crimes within the Gambia, at least if we cannot eradicate it. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo, for that outline as well. Throughout the session, well, we've come to the end of the panel presentations or discussions. We'll open up to a few questions. In the interest of time, maybe we'll take about 3 or 4, but please, one question per person, or one question addressed only to one panelist. We've not heard issues to do with NICTA, the National ICT Agency. There are issues to do with child online protection, and these are all very important things. And as Mr. Jallo from the Ministry of Justice, and okay, I have 3 plus here. That's a bit of a threat. Okay, okay, my fathers, so-called. I mean, as they've all mentioned, we've got a lot to do. There's a lot in the pipeline that we need to do to catch up. And thankfully, the skill sets are resident in Gambia. We just need to harness, what we have here and apply it properly and engage each other. I'm glad to see the good cross-section of people who are here representing the various institutions, and the discussion was, I believe, really fruitful. So over to the floor, Mr. Njai.
Thank you very much, Max. I just want to go straight to Modu Alewu from Moisi. You made mention of the data protection policy, and within that framework, when it was being developed, it was highly recommended that the Data Protection Authority be independent. So now, from your deliberation, I'm hearing that you are talking about something different, and which is alarming. Now, the consultants really emphasize on the independence of data authority commission, sort of. So, what we're urging from our end here, the Internet Governance Forum here, is that you guys need to go back to your ministry, inform them that this authority must be independent, because otherwise, in the nearest future, we're going to have a problem. Okay? So sort of I'm recommending this one. It's not a question. But then my other question is regarding the Malabo Convention. When we were having the policy development on the data protection, you promised that you're going to work on the Malabo Convention. But up to date, what is the status of Malabo Convention for now?
Thank you very much, Mr. Njai. The question, we appreciate your comment and observation, and they'll be taken into account as well. But Mr. Jallo, the question was for you.
Thank you, Mr. Bakarinjai of ISOC. Regarding the independence of the Data Protection Authority, remember I said we're looking into similar institutions. There are requirements for a Data Protection Authority, which are independence, one, self-funding, right, which can be compromised, and mean less interference from government, right, and also it being statutory. So that's why we have not, I name few. I said GCPC, right, National Human Rights Commission, and if there exists a media authority. So the GCPC, they're also independent, and they're also statutory. Although Council of Europe, that's their requirement. They want us to set up a separate one, but we have existing policies that me and you, the government will put in place. They have put that policy that they want less insurance to be set up. Right? So the Data Protection Authority, it can be handled by these existing ones, right, as far as we are concerned. But nonetheless, when we finalize this, we have to bring it back again for validation. But remember, we are not going to copy and paste whatever the Westerners tell us. No. We have to look at what exactly suits us. Now, the next question is a Malabo Convention. Remember, the Malabo Convention talks on 3 different issues. You have the cyber security aspect, the data protection aspect, and the child pornography. According to our understanding was, we needed to align our laws first before ratifying. But recently we've been informed through Honorable Mr. Mbow that we can ratify, then align our laws. So now we're going to ratify from here, right? You on that. We ratify, then align our laws on that. But align our laws, that is in place because we are, as I said before, the cybercrime bill has been drafted. The data protection part, you are part of the drafters, right? The content part, which talks of child pornography, that will also be part of the IC Act being reviewed. Thank you.
That was great. Your question answered? Thank you very much. Thanks, Muduali. And we have Mr. Pons.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Please, my question goes to Mr. Kebe of Nation Cyber. I want to see if, I don't know whether you will agree with me on this, but 90% of the threats in terms of cybersecurity in the Gambia are basically data, threats on data rather than hard infrastructure. And those data are owned by the government of the Gambia, which are busy sitting down in people's personal emails and their public servants. So 90% of governmental data, be it contracts, be it procurement, be it bilateral agreements, they are sitting down in Hotmail accounts, Yahoo accounts, Gmail accounts of governmental officials. So I don't know within your framework as an expert in this field, whether you're doing anything to make the Gambian government understand about really the importance of e-governance, so that all governmental emails, so a government official is talking to you, a minister, a PS, you're not seeing a Hotmail account, you're not communicating with him, because these are governmental data. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right. So to answer your question, yes, most of the data that we see today, so just Nation Cyber did an assessment. We have a couple of institutions in the Gambia that reach out to us to conduct an assessment. As you said, we've seen that most of the data that we're seeing is the official data in the Google and the G Drive and things like that. How do we fix these things? These are part of the policies that we're putting in place, and Moise is working on some processes whereby we can actually help the government to provide some governance in terms of what really it's needed from an awareness to understand why should you not use a personal email for work, right? You know, it's only in some countries or in Gambia I see everybody would say don't send it there, send it to my Gmail. It's just outrageous. But part of what we're doing is to make sure that we help the government provide policies and then make sure that these policies are enforced, but also create content and awareness training for the users. Now, the problem we're seeing is users just don't know. They think, well, work email is not working, just Gmail works just fine. It's just email. It's different because your data, you have to understand that the data that you're sending, it's sitting in someone's server and they're privy to that data at any given time, and then you have to keep it within our organization.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Kebe. Just to add to that, Mr. Pons, what he said is actually very factual. In an institution like where I work at, it is still existing. Even though we have IT policies that categorically say you should not use your private email for official correspondence. The awareness has been, done many times. We've tried to raise people's awareness, make sure they understand the impact of what they're doing. But this is a battle that we cannot give up on. We need to still keep going. And we encourage every single institution that's in the Gambia, small or big, as long as you're using computers and depend even for a fraction of your operations on them, that you should have an IT policy. And this should clearly identify information security policies, what you should use, where, and what not to do, and all that. Again, we can't cover everything at this point in time, but like I said, we're always available. We have samples of all of these that we can provide for you. The next in line, please, madam.
Yes.
Go right
Hello.
ahead.
I'm Deture, and then my question goes to Mr. Samate. My question is, you were talking about like in cyber crimes, like if you have a case that you need to take care of, and then you normally use your own tools to do any investigation or any forensic investigation that you need to do. So I'm thinking like, can you elaborate more on that? What do you mean by you use your own tools? Because since the GPF is dealing with people's PII, so it's very important that we know what kind of tools that they are using, whether it's a free open source, or whether it's a premium version. So if you can elaborate more on that.
Uh, that's a good. When I say we use our, because there is no tool provided by the Gambia Police Force. You could say that you did not have tools, so you cannot do nothing about it. That the police provide the materials, but we see these people are victims, so we believe, in order to leave them to go like that. So since we have the materials, and the to help the victims, so we decided to use our own software. And these are software, some of them, these recovery tools we use, to maybe like an offender, maybe is using a device, and the device, happily maybe it was being formatted, or the information was deleted there. So we use this recovery tool in order to recover, the information that were in.
Free open or premium one?
Pardon?
Free open version, free open source or premium ones?
No, we use the licensed one.
The licensed ones.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Again, in the interest of time, we don't want to dwell too much, but the police has access to both, actually, licensed and open source. I'm sure the lady from her question, she knows a little bit about the software and the tools that the police use. But the important thing is, as long as the forensic investigations are done properly, the data, the custody or chain of custody of data and what they're discovering is handled properly and is presentable and acceptable in court, the rest of it, or the tools, don't really matter too much. And this is a development as they're going. I'm sure within a year or two, they'll be very, very well equipped. We're working hard to make sure that that is the case.
Yeah.
I want another question,
Yes,
please.
I just want to elaborate more on this.
The
reason why
I'm sorry. I really want to apologize. We don't have any more time. It's a quarter past. But sorry. In fact, I think we're taking one more question. It's a quarter till 2. It's Friday. I'll take one more.
Okay.
You say? Okay, you ask your questions quickly. They'll take note, and then I'll send the mic around. You heard that? Okay, thank you. Go right ahead.
Okay. My name is Khadija Dusani, and my question goes to Nation Cyber and GCSE. Listening to all what GPF has said, what plan are you people putting into place to help the Gambia Police Force in terms of cybersecurity?
Police force.
Yes, as a cybersecurity organization.
Okay, a couple of them mentioned that already, but I'll let them, touch on that later. Amadou mentioned that quite a lot, actually. So we'll let Nation Cyber talk on that a little bit. So the next question, you can just take a note.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Sarah Rafadera. My question will go to the Moisi guy. Okay, you have made mention that from 2016 to 2017, you have done vulnerability tests, and then also you have seen that Gambia was the most vulnerable. Since then, have you done any vulnerability tests again from 2017 to 2019? And then also, have you put any management plan? If so, have you put on any management plan to minimize these vulnerabilities? And then the other question will go to the.
I'm sorry, ma'am. We'll take one. That's fine. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but somebody, where's she? Biran, she taught me how to be nice and just say no. Next one.
Okay, she nearly asked the question that I wanted, but let me just frame it in the way I want. Like as after knowing that Gambia is one of the most vulnerable like countries as far as cybersecurity is concerned, as far as cyber threats are concerned. So, what is there any plan that the government is implementing to make sure that they have a vulnerability management plan? Thank you.
Thank you. And that question was addressed to specifically Moisi. Okay, that's more.
Okay.
Please be very brief and to the point. No comments, just question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Max, for that. But I can't help it. Sorry for that. Like, we've mentioned of data governance and some of the issues here. I think one of the issues that I just want to raise here is based on global reports that we've read and policies. I want to address this to Moisi, and if cybersecurity experts want to assist too, they can come in. Like the Gambia is part of the ITU countries, that participate in the GCI, what we call Global Cybersecurity Indexing. And if I'm right, we have about 93 ITU member countries, and 155 were part of this. Now, the last report, mentioned that Gambia is indexed or rated globally 104 countries, that have cybersecurity, failures. And, regionally, when I say regionally, I mean Africa, we are 17. And these areas, basically talk about 5 key aspects. We have the legal aspect, we have the technical aspect, we have the organizational aspect, capacity building and cooperation. So I am asking right now, because if I want to say, how do Moise help us to maintain the trust online based on these reports? How do you guys engage these people on such reports? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for. Okay,
Yeah,
we still have somebody?
Yeah, I have a very short question for Mr. Ba from Moisi. Because Mr. Ba, during your presentation, you talked about data classification. So you sometimes find it very difficult when it comes to investigation to get access to certain information that you need to faster this job. So Mr. Moisi, what is your ministry doing to be able to facilitate backup for those information that the Gambia Police Force and other sectors will need to facilitate their information? So what is your ministry doing, sir? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Again, we want to applaud the audience, and we really appreciate the energy and the quality of questions that are coming onto the panel. It's just unfortunate that the time is so limited. So I'm going to give the mic over and allow a minute for each of the panelists to go ahead and answer the questions. Again, I want to apologize to you too, for the short time.
Yes, 1 minute, huh? So thank you for that. The first question, whether there has been another vulnerability. No. And this was not done by government, but this was done by a third party. The second question, I tend to forget about it. But the third one, the backup of data, right? Gambia Police, Moisi is not doing much per se on that. Remember right now, all we are doing, because right now the way ICT's implementation is, each institution is doing on its own. When you come to national policy and strategy, Moisi is responsible. But for implementations, right, GPF is doing its own. For example, the biometric ID card, Moisi is involved as a member of the committee. But where data stored, how is it done, we don't have much say, right? Does that answer your question? So will I leave Mr. Moderator? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Modalo. May I just add that if the police need information that they're requesting for any genuine investigation, all they need is a letter from the IG, and that information will be forthcoming. At the moment, that is what's practically on the ground. Even though in the near future, we're working on having it such that every request must be signed by a judge. You know, yeah, I mean, you understand how it works out there. You want private information about anybody, you go to a judge, you know, you present your request, you defend it, the judge gives you the warrant or whatever, and then you go and get the information. That's what we're working towards in the near future as well. Mr. Kebe?
So to answer your question, what we're doing for the Gambia Police Force from a Nation Cyber perspective, Nation Cyber has brought in a couple of expertise in some tools to work with some government agencies, and then we will be working with the police in terms of helping them make some adjustments in the way they work, and I think it's going to be with the Gambia Cybersecurity Alliance as part of providing training and certifications, especially things like chain of custody and then the actual softwares that they may need for forensic investigation. So I think it's a quick minute, so thank you.
Okay. I just want to elaborate a little bit on what Max was just saying. In the Gambia, Mod said something also which is very, very important. We have a lot of issues when it comes to cybersecurity. So personally, in general terms, my recommendation will be government need to really improve on capacity building. It is not about picking people, sending them to China to go and study cybersecurity for just 3 months, and you expect those people to come and deliver expatriate services to us. It is practically impossible. If government really want to get cybersecurity experts, we need to invest on robust cybersecurity programs for people to go and study to build their capacity. It's not about sending them to China. They go for a cybersecurity tour to visit incident response centers and visit some cybersecurity firms and come back and say these people are certified in cybersecurity. It is not about that. It's about building their capacity practically for them to be a cybersecurity specialists. And it's important finally also for government to be proud of our own. It is something that will really, really improve our economy. Before you spend millions of dollars on individuals, sending them to go outside the Gambia to do certain things, you capitalize on national parties. This is very, very important. Specific governments give contracts to agencies outside the Gambia for cybersecurity, and out of the blue, I was in one of the panels. I say expert, and the contract was from the Gambia, and one of the Gambian guys saw me part of the technical expatriate, and he was like, so you do this? I said, we came to your office to talk about our expatriate, but you did not take us seriously, and this country is hiring me to do this expatriate job for them. So let us be proud of our own place.
Basically, what I want to just add to that is cyber security does not only pertain to crimes, even our individual properties. We have to understand that lot of our properties, when it comes to intangible properties, intellectual properties, that is your books, your songs, your musics, your other tangible properties that worth millions of dollars outside, you need protection for them. So these are things that need to be definitely protected, because you wouldn't, there are some, if you look at, there are some books like, if you need right now Oxford, maybe Advanced Learners Dictionary 2010 or 15, you won't access it for free. It's protected. So basically, it's not just all about crime, even your properties. So you need those things to be able to improve the economic welfare of the citizens who will also have intangible properties in the internet, and people will access Jaliba songs without paying anything. That is wrong. You need to have some revenue, pay some taxes, employ people. The economy will grow. So let us consider cybersecurity in the broader perspective, not just when it comes to crimes. It have also some aspects of individual right to his or her properties and how others can have access to those properties. Yeah, thank you.
All right, now that brought us to the end of this panel and discussions. Very honored also to have chaired this, and I'm going to hand over to Mr. Pons, our able MC as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Max. So just some housewarming rules. I know a lot of people are rushing out for prayers now. So immediately after prayers, we have lunch. After lunch, we go into group discussion. So please just take note of the groups and I will announce them again. So group 1 is for session 1, which deals with infrastructure and access, and Bakare Injai from ISOC with Momodu Aliyu will be chairing that group. So immediately after lunch, look for Bakare, look for Momodu Aliyu for Moisi, they'll be chairing that group. Group 2 that deals with the digital economy is going to also, we are going to get Adama. I don't know whether she's somewhere here. Adama Jallo, a member of the steering committee. She'll be chairing that group. Group 3 on digital rights and freedom of expression. I'll be there chairing the, I'll be chairing the committee, and I'll be working with the Article 19 lady from office in the Gambia. So I think she's somewhere here. Article 19. You'll be with me co-chairing that group for that's group 3, the session after lunch. Group 4, which has the whole fake news, hate speech, and everything. You have our able chair Biran. Will be chairing that group discussion, and group 5, Max will be chairing with Mr. Ba, Amadou Ba will be chairing that group for the group discussion. It's just 1 hour. After the group discussion, we go into our drafting communique. So the groups will just arrange ourselves. I will announce this after lunch and during lunch when people are talking. So go out for your prayers, and then immediately after prayers, lunch, and looking forward to seeing you back by